Welcome, everybody, to the City of Farmers Branch study session for Tuesday, July 1st. Our first order of business will be public comments. I do not have anybody signed up to speak at study sessions, so we'll move right into item C1, which is to review and discuss consent and regular agenda items. Councilman Roman?
Nothing for me.
Councilman Bennett?
Nothing for me.
Councilman Reed?
Nothing here.
Councilwoman Biafranca?
Nothing, thank you.
Councilman Neal?
It just has some quick questions on J4, J5.
Megan Holloway, Economic Development Manager.
Just real quick, who are the developers for these properties?
Yes, J4 is VVP Multifamily, and J5 is Lindbergh Designs.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the first one again?
It is VVP Multifamily.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had, Mayor.
Thank you. Moving on, item C2, receive an update regarding Mercer Park and the Mercer Crossing subdivision.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. Robert Diaz, Parks and Rec Director. I have Mark Moffitt, our Parks Superintendent, who's walking in. And I got Tara Bradley, our Park Planner, here for any questions, but I'll just run through the presentation as we put in the packet for you. So what we want to do this afternoon is just give Council an update from on Mercer Park development. We did an update, if you recall, back in December of 24. And at that point, there was some Council direction on looking at some alternatives, and that's kind of what we'll be going through this afternoon. So just to get everyone up to date, the Mercer Crossing development started back in 2017. The city entered into a development agreement to look at infrastructure improvements in the park area. And in September 2024, the developer improvements were completed, if you all recall that. And then we took ownership of the property from the developer at that time as well. And then in December, we brought forth, as I stated earlier, where we were, how we were looking at a phasing plan at that point. And then following that meeting, we were able to get some memos to all the council in the spring on, and this is what we'll kind of look through at the presentation. So just to kind of also bring you up to date on where we are in development. So if you look at the graphic, shows the southern portion of the park, and also the pictures on the right corner show the development that if you recall back in the fall, we were in that point of we needed to get the trees in, but which the developer was supposed to do, but then the city was responsible for the irrigation. So we updated the agreement to allow for some funding to come to us, and the conveyance of the property was that whole process that we did. So anyway, we've completed all that work. All the developer improvements have been completed. So the southern portion you see here has the trail has been put in, and we've got the developer put the trail, the benches, and the artwork. We have just recently completed the install of the irrigation, the turf, and the trees. So at this point, that southern portion of the park is a completed park. The trail has been in use since last fall when it was completed. So if you go out there today, you see it looks like the southern portion looks like it's a completed park. Pretty much everything, if you see in the picture, except the playground and the basketball court and the pavilion, that's all. It's got turf. It looks completed, but it's just that part has not been completed yet. So some of the discussion we had on the programming, if we go back to the other graphic on the right, we looked at multifunctional courts such as pickleball, tennis, installation of lighting, playground and shade pavilion. Those are all part of some of the graphics that you see in front of you. So, and looking at this graphic, basically what we want to do is recap what we talked about in December. And so what we looked at that point was the initial phase being what we've completed up to this point with the developer, which is what I just showed, and that's basically that southern portion of the park with the trail. And then what we would look at on the northern portion of the park which would be what we use for tennis courts, pickleball. We would have that initial phase. The second phase would be putting in those facilities, which would be around that $1 million mark. And then what we looked at if you look at the December future phase items would be playground pavilion and those were part of the amenities. I know that was discussed in December. That was part of the reason we wanted to kind of bring that back to you, because we wanted to show what adding all those items. I think some of the comments were at the time, we want to see kind of what the renderings and the pictures, how much would that cost? So when we took it back to we used TMP, Tignall and Perkins as the consultant. They went back and they looked at a current updated cost for putting all the amenities in, which would be the courts, lighting, playground, pavilion, landscaping. That price came up, it's in that over $3 million mark, and that's where you have, and that's kind of where we are today. So just some of the reasoning for some of the project estimates being a little bit, being substantially more now. We have the design services. We've got the contingency, which is at 20%, which typically we would see. I think that's a little high. There was some reasoning for that. I think what tends to happen is the consultants will add a little more contingency because they don't know exactly when the project's going to be bid out. So they don't want to be held to a tight budget, not knowing when exactly this is going to go forward. So they do. To me, it's a little bit high. That's something we probably could adjust before we went to bid, depending on when we took it to bid. And you've got your earthwork, and then you've got, so all in all, we're looking at another about $2 million to build everything turnkey. When we put that's the project estimate we have at this point. So I know it's a quick presentation, but it's just kind of to get everybody up to date. I know we had some questions at council, and this is kind of, I'm happy to answer any of those, and we've, like I said, I've got staff here as well. So
Thank you very much. Councilman Reed?
Thank you. The $1 million or $1.05 million, does that include I just want to confirm, that includes the installation of the pickleball courts, basketball court, all that? Do we know when that's going to begin and what the timeline is for that?
So at this point, what we were waiting to hear back is what our budget needed to be. We haven't moved forward in any development other than finishing out that southern portion. So what we need to do is kind of confirm the scope of the project and then what the budget would be, and then we would get the design completed. And then at that point, we would move forward with whatever amenities that council would want to move forward with. So at this point, we don't have a timeline for any of that completion until we kind of firm up the scope and the budget.
Okay, and I think that's what we need to do now. I saw that if you do it all at once, it seems like the amount's going to be $3 million and change. Otherwise, it would be $1 million for the courts, and then additional phases, which is $2 million. Is there any savings between doing it all at once versus doing it in phases?
Could be some potential savings. If you're, like I said, we've already developed that southern end. There's not a whole lot to, depending on what we put in there, the engineering wouldn't be great cost. It's that northern portion where the courts go, I believe, is where we're going to have the most challenges because it's basically a blank piece of property. We need to look at the engineering and all that. So that's why, that $1 million budget would pretty much take most of that to be able to make sure we get the design, the engineering done correctly, the design accurately, and then be able to have the funding to put that one together. So, I feel at this point and like I said earlier, some of the numbers, just understand this is a project estimate. These are coming from the consultant. So we can tweak that however we need to. But I think what it does paint a very nice picture of what it's going to take to build something like this. But we can adjust that however we need to, and we can phase it however we need to as well. what we talked about was phasing it, and when we looked at phases in December, was doing the courts on that northern end, keeping that southern end basically as is, and then as funding was, as we got funding, additional funding down the road, either through CIP or some other sources, we would add the other amenities. So, and then if we develop that north end, we'd have pretty much a complete park, because you wouldn't have any undeveloped area over there. So that's kind of where our focus was back in December. And I think, some of council's comments where we want to see what that would cost, and that's what we're letting you guys all know. That's, it's definitely going to cost more to add the other amenities, but
Right.
it's kind of like a menu, and, council can pick kind of what it is that they want to do, and we'll go forward from there.
And I apologize for not knowing this, because this was before I came on board. I know that there was a lump sum that was budgeted towards this project, and that was approximately $1 million. Now, is that what has gone towards where it is now?
Correct. So some of it was, so we got the additional 55,000 for the trees that the developer gave us last fall. We utilized, we paid for the trees so everything at this point has been our costs. So right now we're about like 950,000. I think we've expended about 100,000 for irrigation, for the tree install, and for the turf that we just added as well, the sod that we just sodded the whole park, the whole southern end with. So, so part of that was dictated from the funding we got from the developer as well. We could only use that funding for the trees.
Right. Now, the million, call it $1 million
Right.
that's been spent so far. Is that city money, or we also received a grant on that, did we not?
No, there's no grants. It's all
There's nothing at all.
non-bond CIP funding.
Okay. So the $1 million that was originally budgeted has already been spent basically at this point?
We've spent a little bit of it with the funding we got from the developer.
Okay, so right now we have to come up with the full 3 million to start moving forward.
Correct. Or we utilize the funding that we have and build something, like I said, more in the phases. So there's a couple options there, but yes.
Right.
How much money do you have?
We have the 900 we have the $1 million, the little under $1 million,
Oh,
Right
that's
now.
still available? Oh,
still
okay.
available,
Yeah, that's what
correct.
I didn't understand.
Yeah, I was under the impression that what has been done so far had exhausted that $1 million.
No.
Okay,
So all the original developer agreement, they called for not only giving us the property, but also putting in some of those improvements. So their costs, so the developer put the trail in, the artwork, the benches, all the parking area, all that was part of the initial developer agreement. And then all we had remaining with them was the trees, and we didn't want to put the trees in until we did the irrigation. So that was kind of where we took the money from them to buy the trees, and then we utilized the budget to be able to do the trees, the irrigation, and the sod. So that completed that whole southern portion of the park.
okay,
And we still have approximately almost $1 million left in the bank.
okay. So at this point, right now, we have enough in funding to commence with, if we're going to do it in phases, commence with phase one.
Well, yes, I mean, if we looked at what we've done so far, kind of as the phase one, this would be the next, or phase two, or the next phase would be that northern portion.
Right.
We have almost $1 million to go do that.
Okay,
Correct.
all right. So at this point, I guess we just have to decide on what, give the nod direction as to whether we want to move forward.
Are you done?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I just,
yeah, I was just,
okay,
rhetorical question, I guess.
okay. Councilman Roman?
I think Councilmember Reed is correct. We did originally have CARES or ARPA funding allocated for that project, but because of the time that we needed to either begin or allocate, I think it was when we needed to begin the funding, we ended up moving that money to another project, and then we used CIP funds to fill the gap that was otherwise going to go somewhere else. So I think you're correct. Originally, it was funding from COVID, but we ended up switching it around just to make sure we didn't lose that funding. And so tell me what the estimated time of completion would be if we did the phased approach? Or do you even know, because you may not know what funding might become available in the future?
Well, what we were looking at December was to try and start the design process. If we're just looking at developing that northern piece, I think design would go relatively fast. I'm thinking 3 to 6 months on design. And then by the time we put it out to bid, it's not a lot of construction time. It's a lot of flat work and things like that. I think it would be probably in that 6 to 9 month range to do that northern piece. So if we were to move forward this evening, I mean, we'd have something, the northern piece probably completed sometime, summer of next year of 26.
Yeah, I mean, bottom line, we're underfunded for this project, and we need to figure out what's next. And from my perspective, I was part of all of the discussions and the inception of all of this. And I want to make sure that what was promised to the residents at that time is what will be delivered. And actually, one resident in particular made a comment and said, I want to make sure that we're not going to come here again and have to pivot and, figure out how we're going to change this project. I want to be sure that in this meeting, what we're talking about is actually going to be done. And the answer at that time from the Parks and Rec director was yes, that is the intent of this discussion. And so I want to make sure that we deliver on those promises that were made to those residents, because there's a slew of other issues that on the west side where different stakeholders were not fulfilling their end of their promises. And so I don't want us to be known as grouped in together with that group. So I want to make sure that we do it, whether it's at a phased approach. Obviously, we don't have the funds right now. So if it's a phased approach, I just want to make sure that as we're doing this phase, that we fulfill every single one of those items that we promised we were going to be delivering. I don't want anything to be cut. That's just from my perspective.
Councilwoman Bennett.
Councilman Roman. But I would be very supportive just to moving forward, getting phase 2, I guess is what it's being called, completed quickly.
Councilwoman Villafranca.
Thank you for the update. I'm in favor of getting it started as soon as we can. Thank you.
Councilman Neal.
Thank you. Yes, I agree. Thanks for the presentation. I'm just wondering if you could help me understand, one, in the presentation, I think it's maybe the screen before this one, discussion and direction.
Or the one before?
That one, you're right. You had
Okay.
it just there. So this one, I'm trying to understand the numbers here. Is it 2.3 million for the earthwork sites and features plus an additional 2 million? That would be the
I think
total of
what
4.3.
might make it a little easier to read is just, and let me just pull up this is the actual estimate. I know it's a little hard to read, but this also shows the complete cost with how they came up with their contingency. So really you're looking at all the construction cost is about 2.36, their contingency of 472, their design fee of 229, that comes up to a total of 3.062.
So as of right now, the entire project, which would be inclusive of all phases, given this,
Correct.
the accuracy of this estimate is about $3 million, right?
Correct. And like I said, contingency could be adjusted a little bit. And they put on here a note about contingency being used. Like I said, I think that's a good buffer for them because they don't know when the project's going to be bid out. They want to be able to make sure there's enough funding there. But when we reviewed all their numbers, we just did a playground at Dutch Village. And so we kind of know those numbers are pretty, and a lot of the numbers in here we felt are pretty accurate. So really, like I said, the only contention I would see would be that contingency could be adjusted a little bit. So you're looking, so say we did that 10%, you'd be looking at like a 2.8 million.
Okay, and just to circle back to Councilperson Reed, can you put a price a price or a number to the cost savings we might have if we were to do it now versus waiting?
Well,
Looking for some kind of a number there, is it?
I don't know if because when we develop the northern piece right now, like I was saying earlier, the southern piece is pretty much done. So all we're looking really to do is develop that northern piece. So you know, if we added some of those items on the southern end, if I go back to this graph, this is an old picture, but this whole southern portion where we've got the playground, maybe a basketball court pavilion, you know, right now, that is all turf. It looks like it's a park. It's usable. So if we need to go develop that later, we can even do that in pieces. So we could put the playground in later, the basketball court separate. We could, you know, so it's that northern piece that's been untouched. That's where we need to get engineering and all that kind of stuff done.
So you don't really have a number,
I don't have a number on.
big number, little number, by doing all of it now versus waiting? And yeah, I mean, if there's inflation and all that sort of stuff.
Well, when you're looking at mobilization and things like that, I think definitely overall, it's always going to be cheaper to do it all at
Sure.
one time.
I
It's-
just
I just
don't
don't
know
have
if
a number for, I
Is
don't
that
have a number for it.
$500 or 500,000? I'm just trying to get a number here, but that's, okay, I understand, so. In that same line of thinking regarding numbers, I know the developer has done quite a bit to this effort as well. Do you have any ballpark estimate as to how much the developer has already put into?
I think quite a bit. If you look, I was kind of looking at some of those numbers when we brought this to you in December. Just the trail in itself, it's a 12-foot trail, 6-inch concrete. Just the trail itself is probably, with even, you know, the site work, and I was estimating, you know, we never got anything specifically from the developer. All those costs are on their own. But I would say $1 million, $1.5 million is probably what's been developed so far.
Okay. Yeah. My only comment would be that, given the flat and tight budget that we're coming up, I would lean towards more of a phased approach and but still try to get it going as quickly as we can
Great.
for those residents. That's all I have, Mayor. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Anything else?
So I guess the direction is to start Phase 2, getting the planning going that way, because it seems Phase 3 is simply just installing. The ground is already done. It's just plopping the,
Well, I think if we.
for lack of a better term, just
Exactly.
plopping the
And what we'll do
playground
is,
on there.
we'd already looked at kind of that northern portion before we came to you all last December. We've got costs on bringing in, the next thing will happen for us, we'll bring you all an agreement for design. So that'll be our next piece in the puzzle. So we'll work with the TMP to get that going and probably get that to you as quick as we can, earliest agenda we can, and then that'll kind of get that ball. They're ready. So and like I said, if we're just doing the courts and things like that, I think design won't take very long, and we'll keep everybody posted on that.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
And just another question. Can you talk a little bit about how this might impact parking for people who might be picking up their mail? There's a mailbox station right on Chartwell Crest, and there's been some concerns about the people parking there for an extended period of time that would prohibit people from accessing their mailboxes or from mail being delivered. Can you talk a little bit about what solution
There you
we
go.
might implement for that?
I think what we'll do is we'll look at the impact when we start construction. We will go, when we do design, we'll have that in mind, because they'll come out, they'll survey the area, look at where those mailboxes are. We'll make sure we work with the I think it's First Texas Homes that are doing the townhomes. We'll work with the builder out there and make sure we've already had some discussions with them on a few things in the park as well, but we'll make sure that, because we know people are starting to move in. And I think those townhomes, they actually will face the park. So where you see that's actually an alley. So those people are going to be seeing all the construction that we're going to be doing, so.
All righty, thank you very much.
Robert, I would just ask, when you come back with the next presentation on this, would you please, in addition to what you bring us, provide a outline of all the city funds that have been spent on this? Because from what I'm gathering, our $1 million park is now north of $3 million from what I'm listening. And I just want to know what the city has spent so far. Please detail that out.
Okay.
And then what we were looking at for each phase. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right, next up is item C3, receive report on a potential sponsorship agreement for the Firefighter Challenge World Championship.
Hey, good afternoon, Mayor, Council. Special Projects Manager Jose Gerbe here along with Ann from our tourism team to talk to you about the Firefighter Challenge World Championship. On Monday, October 20th to Saturday, October 25th, the Dallas College Brookhaven campus located here in Farmers Branch will be hosting the Firefighter Challenge World Championship. We're expecting a turnout of 800 attendees. This will include athletes, volunteers, families, and different guests. To accommodate the visitors, the tourism team has blocked out 600 hotel rooms for this event. The event regularly attracts firefighters from across the United States and participants from over 17 different countries. Last year, they welcomed firefighters from Canada, Norway, France, and the United Kingdom, along with other countries. The majority of international guests have either won or placed highly in competitions held in their home countries. We expect the same this year. The event will be live streamed on their YouTube channel. Additionally, there will be posts and short videos for social media, which typically reach 350,000 unique viewers, according to the organizer, providing an opportunity for the city. The organizers approached the city with this opportunity to enter into a sponsorship agreement. They initially presented a lengthy list of requests for the city to fulfill. However, after discussions with departments and negotiations with the organizers, we managed to narrow down the list to a more reasonable request. So logistics, again, we are here at the Dallas College Brookhaven campus at the parking lot. We do expect it to be contained to Dallas College. For reference, we mentioned 600 to 800 visitors, compared to pickleball events, which is about 2,000 people.
It's more than 2,000.
Yeah, over 2,000 people. So just to give you kind of the change of what we expect. Again, in terms of the sponsorship agreement, with the city would waive any local fees, any local government permits, licenses, and other local approvals. They would have permission to connect to on-site water hydrants. They would assist in promoting the event to potential volunteers, and the city would also help promote the city would provide a cash payment of $10,000 funded through the hotel occupancy tax revenues. Again, this is a restricted fund that can only be used for specific purposes. The city in turn will receive, the city logo will be used for all marketing efforts and included in key signage, entrance, websites, and t-shirts. 15-second commercial to be aired randomly daily. The city's name will be mentioned and thanked throughout the event. During media interviews and in all event coverage. There will be opportunity for the mayor and council to welcome athletes at the reception on Friday morning and Sunday afternoon. And of course, they'll waive the fees for interested members of the Farmers Branch Fire Department if they are interested in participating. With that, we ask for discussions and direction. Again, we are asking for guidance on whether we can move forward with this agreement.
Councilman Roman?
I'm supportive of it. I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Councilman Bennett?
I'm supportive of it, but I'd like to know where has it been held previously? And how old is the event?
I can find out how old it is.
To the microphone. Ann, to the mic.
I'm
Thank you.
sorry. Last year it was held in Nashville. I think it's been there for 4 or 5 years, but I can find out how long the event has been going on. I do know that we held this event on a smaller scale in 2017, I believe it was, in the parking lot at the Doubletree Galleria Hotel. Thank you. Thank you.
Councilman Reed?
Very supportive of the event. Quick reminder, when is the pickleball event?
It starts October 31st, which is a week later.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure you already looked at, but I just want to make sure that
Yes.
there was no overlap.
It's going to be a fun, no,
Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm all for it, thanks.
thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Villafranca?
And thank you so much for all of these amazing programs you're bringing to our city. Thank you.
It's
Great
fun.
idea.
Thank you.
Councilman Neal?
Thank you, Mayor. I just have two questions, basically. One regarding the overall staffing of the event. Do we have Farmers Branch firefighters participating in this event?
They have an option to sign up and run as a participant. That hasn't been pushed out yet, but they have that opportunity.
And I feel confident that the chief will make sure we're properly staffed within our city during this event, such that our services are not diminished in any way, as you may have participants from the department in the program. Okay, great. And then with this contribution of the $10,000, do we have any way to identify or capture the return on that investment of $10,000?
Yes. So there is an economic impact report that we did for pickleball last year. We will run the same report for this event.
Great, thank you. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And I have a question here. Under the sponsorship agreement, it said a 15-second commercial will be aired randomly daily. What does that mean? Where? Who's commercial? Who's producing that?
So Meredith, the amazing Meredith, will get with a contractor or somebody to create the video, and then it will be aired on their channel as it's going through.
So it's just going to be on the Firefighter Challenge social media channel?
Yes, all of their channels, yes. It'll be pushed out through their website, their Instagram, and when you can watch it live.
Okay. Maybe at some point you could bring us some type of report or metrics that show us what their reach is, how many subscribers, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, it's not going to change my opinion. I would like to have this event in the city, and I'm excited about it, but I just like to see what we're getting, where we're getting our brand exposed to.
Understand?
Okay. So with that, y'all are going to prepare the next step and come back, or do you need to come back?
Yes, we'll prepare a resolution along with the agreement and have that ready for you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Council.
We need to get that on the next meeting, so we could probably move that quickly. Okay. Very good. Thank you. Next up is item C4, receive an update from the mayor and city council members regarding board liaison information from outside organizations and other meetings attended. Councilman Roman?
I'm good.
Councilwoman Bennett?
I'm good.
Councilman Reed?
I attended the grand opening of the Treasure Studios over here in Mustang Station. It was very heavily attended. I think at one point there was well over 100 folks over there, and they were great in regards to pulling in the other businesses within Mustang Station. They had a Tito's-sponsored event where you'd go around to all the restaurants and visit them and have a card checked and all this. So it was a great block party type atmosphere. So we welcome them and Senior Oink, who is new as well, to Mustang Station and to the city.
Okay.
That's it.
Very good. Thank you. Councilwoman Villafranca?
Yes, thank you. I had the opportunity on June 18th to attend Lieutenant Steve Griff's promotion ceremony, and it's so nice to be at the police department and see the camaraderie and the people that are retired that come out to represent from other departments. It's really, really nice to see that kind of camaraderie and teamwork. Thank you. June 18th, I attended the DART informational meeting at the rec center. It was very well attended. Councilman Roman and I were there. I think there were probably 35 people that were asking really thoughtful questions that were really concerned about what's going to happen with DART. So the way I understood it was they want to raise prices and lower service. So I don't know how that's going to work. On June the 20th, I was able to attend Friday Franks at the Branch Connection. That was super, super well attended. I didn't realize I was so hungry I had to ask for a second hot dog. They were really good, whoever made them, thank you. And then on June 20th, I had the opportunity to attend. I saw you there, Mayor, and I saw Mayor Babick at the Korean American National Sports Festival. They brought in about 4,300 people to our city, people from Hawaii and Alaska and all over the country. And it was really, really nice. Lots of great entertainment and just so much great energy there. So that was a nice thing. June 24th, I attended the Housing Forward meeting at Brookhaven College and ran into you there, and there was no meeting to be held because apparently it had been moved somewhere else, but we had the intention. Of course, we were all at the budget planning meeting on June the 24th, and I think that it went really well. We were able to ensure that we have, in spite of the flat budget, that we have a balanced budget, so that was a good thing. June 25th, Councilman Roman and I were at Squire Park to receive all of the people. It was such a great turnout for people that wanted to come out and enjoy the afternoon and tell us what they want in their park. And Councilman Roman, the park, you did just an amazing, amazing job. The turnout, the kids having a great time, and neighbors coming out and talking. So I really appreciated that. On June the 26th, my husband and I were able to go to Senor Oink. If you like carnitas, that's a place. They have handmade tortillas. I highly recommend it. They just opened on B Street. June 27th, I was invited to a Branch Vision event, and it was just sort of a meet and greet and just people from the community just kind of hanging out and having fun, which was really nice. And then on June the 28th, I was with David Reed, with Councilman Reed, at the B Street Treasure Studios and Block Party. I was there for a good while, but I didn't ever see the DJ, but it was still really nice. I enjoyed it, and it was a great turnout. And last night I was with you, Mayor, at the Citizen Police Academy alumni meeting, and I don't think we had quite a quorum, but we still were able to have good discussion about things that we can do to raise money to support our police officers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilman Neal?
I'm good, thank you.
All right. I'm just going to report, so had the pleasure to represent the city at the Korean American Sports Festival. Councilwoman Villafranca was there in the audience. I didn't know what to expect. There were about 1,500 athlete participants, plus everybody else that came with them. This was just like the Olympics. If you see the cities parading in, or the countries parading in, this was cities from all over that were parading in. And it was a very fun event, I thought. So very interesting. So glad that we were able to host that here. I had another tour of Envision, this time with Dallas County Commissioner Andy Summerman, and it's really important that our county officials and even our state officials take the opportunity to come and tour what we have available in our city. Envision obviously is doing some very unique things to help blind and visually impaired people, and giving them jobs, hope, and making them productive citizens. And so we really, really appreciate that. HKS, the architectural firm, had a meeting that I attended on mass timber. And so I'm going to bring that up here in just a moment under a future agenda item. I'll talk more about that in a moment. We had our DART mayor's meeting, we had a mayor's meeting last week, and as usual, discussion centered around DART, as well as disruptors to city council meetings and other functions. And so this disruption has been a problem by people who show up and attend meetings in other cities. And so as mayors, we were all trying to help develop best practices for how we handle that within the bounds of the law. So we don't have situations get out of control in each of our city. Treasure Studios obviously was a fun event to be a part of. We had the North Texas Crime Commission last week. Chief McCoy and I were there. They had a chief's panel and talked about some topical things regarding law enforcement that are relevant to cities. So anyway, I'm not going to get into that. And then lastly, I was at the Live Golf event last Thursday in Carrollton. You know, even though the event is in Carrollton, it benefits our city and Addison and even Coppell. So it's great that the mayors from surrounding communities showed up. You know, I'm a big believer that when one of us does something, we all win and we all benefit and we share in that. So I want to thank Mayor Babick for inviting us out for that. That is all I have. So next up is item C5, which is review and discuss future agenda items. Councilman Roman.
Yes, I'd like to request a presentation from the Valwood Improvement Authority regarding who they are, what they do, their finances, upcoming projects, and the sort. That's it.
Councilwoman Bennett.
I'd like a future agenda item to discuss ceremonial items and the placement on the agendas.
Okay. Councilman Reed.
Nothing for me.
Councilwoman Villafranca.
I'd like to revisit the security assessment update that was provided by the police chief at the June 3rd meeting that was held in the executive session. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Neal.
Nothing, thank you.
Thank you. I have several items. One, I'd like to request a presentation by HKS on mass timber and have them make that same presentation to planning and zoning. Number two is I'd like to have a discussion regarding the Addison Jail and possible contractual relationship with them. Number three is taking another look at our public comment forum and a notation for decorum, rules of decorum when folks are addressing council. And then number four, discussion only, but I'd like to have a discussion as to why we have our Independence Day celebration on July 3rd, where we're competing with especially Addison and Kaboom Town, and just have a discussion about possibly moving to the actual 4th, where we wouldn't have so much neighborly competition. So that is all I have for that. At this time, I'm going to read us into executive session. We have 3 items. First one is D1. City Council will convene in a closed executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.072 to discuss the sale of real property located at 13309 Josie Lane. D2, City Council will convene in a closed executive session pursuant to Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code to seek confidential legal advice from the city attorney regarding the property at 12150 Medical Parkway. And item D3, the City Council will convene in closed executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.074, personnel matters, to receive an update from the city manager regarding employee and operational matters. Thank you. We'll take a few minutes and meet in the city manager's conference room.